Great. Thank you so much, Rachel. It's great to be here again with you all. And thank you so much for the turnout. Thank you for being here and for the tremendous interest, sustained interest even in Artemis II. As Rachel said, we just completed, about a couple hours ago, we completed 2 days of discussions as part of our Artemis II Flight Readiness Review. The Flight Readiness Review is our final big assessment of our readiness for launch, where we are going to, when we launch, fly 4 astronauts around the moon and bring them home safely. An incredible amount of work has gone into preparing for this test flight by thousands of people across our integrated team. At the conclusion of the Flight Readiness Review, I'll just say during the Flight Readiness Review, we had extremely thorough discussions, very open, transparent. We talked a lot about our risk posture and how we're mitigating those risks. We reviewed the challenges that we've had and how we've addressed them. And we talked about the work that remains, what's left to do, and how we're going to get through all of that. We were fortunate to have our crew join us virtually for the review from Houston: Reed Wiseman, Victor Glover, Christina Cook, and Jeremy Hansen. Having them join us in this review really reinforced the importance of having open, honest discussions about our path forward and about the risks that we're asking them to take. At the conclusion of the FRR, all the teams polled go to launch and fly Artemis II around the moon, pending completion of some of the work before we roll out to the launch pad. Just a reminder to everybody, we talk about it every time we talk about this flight. It's a test flight, and it is not without risk, but our team and our hardware are ready. We are planning to roll out to the pad, back out to the pad, targeting next week, a week from today on the 19th. We are on track for that. Everything's going pretty well. Maybe even a little ahead of that, but we're shooting for the 19th. And then once we get back out to the pad, we'll configure for launch. Pending completion of the work in the VAB and at the pad, we are on track for a launch as early as April 1st. And we are working toward that date. I'll say the launch time on the April 1st is at 6:24 p.m. I also wanted to note, I'm sure many of you have seen our little calendar with the green squares on it that shows the available dates for launches in April. We have also just continued to refine our analyses of launch availability and are adding April 2nd to our calendar of potential launch opportunities in that early April launch period. The launch on the 2nd would be at 7:22 p.m. Within those 6 days between the 1st and the 6th, we can't always turn around every day for an attempt. We would anticipate on the order of about 4 opportunities within that 6-day period. Again, while I am comfortable and the agency is comfortable with targeting April 1st as our first opportunity, just keep in mind we still have work to go. There are still things that need to be done within the VAB and out at the pad. And as always, we'll always be guided by what the hardware is telling us, and we will launch when we're ready. I want to close just by saying how proud I am of this amazing team that is working tirelessly to prepare to launch and fly our astronauts around the moon and bring them home safely. With that, I'll hand it over to John.
Okay, thank you, Lori. Hello again. It's good to be back with you all today, and it's even better for us to be ready in the rocket to get ready to roll out again and launch this mission. Probably over the last 7 days, pretty much on, more than off, we spent a lot of time with the senior executives and the leadership throughout the enterprise, talking about our risk posture, as Lori alluded to, but moreover, looking at it through the lens of an FRR, an agency FRR is really more like it's telling the risk story, and it's about how you communicated risk. So Lori said, hey, we need to spend a few days doing just that and kind of wire brushing the team so that we don't put ourselves in a posture of what I always kind of talk to folks about sometimes: don't bring me a kit and make me have to put it together myself. You know, I wanted to be crisp on going to this agency FRR and making sure that we had the kit put together so that folks could understand that we were doing our best job at communicating the risk associated with this mission. You know, over and over again, we ask ourselves, is the rocket ready to fly? Is the spacecraft ready to fly? Is the integrated team ready? You know, so another piece that kind of drives into that is Amit's been talking to us for several months about failure of imagination. I think we use that term a lot in human space flight, right? And so we want to be sure that we're thinking about everything that can possibly go wrong. And have we assessed and adjudicated all the risks to put us in the best posture to be successful? I, like Lori, was very pleased with the outcome of the flight readiness review. I, like Lori, was very pleased with the outcome of the flight readiness review. Amit asked for dissenting opinions at the end. We spent a little bit of quiet time, giving people plenty of time to come to the table and share any dissenting concerns, and there were none. We took some actions at the FR today. Some of those actions are due to be completed prior to rollout, which I don't think is a big deal. It's just work we got to get done. And then there's some that will come to the L-2 when the Enterprise hands over the mission management to the MMT. And like I said, we got a path to close all the open actions either prior to rollout or prior to launch. I spent a lot of time over the last probably 7 months putting teams together to go look at risk across all the individual elements of the Enterprise and how they stack up, and then once I got that data put together by the teams, I put together another team to go assess all those integrated risks and how they interact with each other from a top-down perspective and a bottoms-up perspective. And I was really pleased to report, that we didn't find any new integrated risk interactions throughout that process. So just in closing, I'll say that, this is the first flight, like I've always said, of humans in over 50 years and to the moon, and that's certainly exciting. And I've always cautioned the team, and we won't do it, and we're not going to celebrate this small victory that we had on getting through the FR, which was quite a big deal, but it's just a step along the way. So we're not going to celebrate till we get Reed and Victor and Christina and Jeremy safely home. Thank you. I'll turn it over to Sean.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Well, first of all, it's good to see everyone here today. It's really incredible that we've set a new launch date to send our astronauts back to the moon for the first time for 50 years. Exactly 2 weeks ago, we had to roll back from the pad after a very successful wet dress rehearsal. And, it was frustrating to have the issue that we had, but, as you know, we had a problem loading helium on the upper stage. We got the vehicle back to the VAB, and we removed the suspect part. It was what we call a quick disconnect, a helium quick disconnect. And we took it to our labs, we x-rayed it, and we found a seal blocking the flow of the helium through the QD. And so at that point, we set upon a path to figure out the root cause. And so we set up some non-flight units down at our launch equipment test facility, and proceeded to duplicate the conditions that we experienced when we were trying to load helium on board the upper stage, and we were able to replicate the problem. Since that time, our combined engineering teams across our ground systems and SLS teams came up with a design fix. That design fix was implemented on a test article, and we have successfully tested it, and we have qualified it for use on Artemis II. And the modified QD is already on the upper stage. So I was very, very proud of the team and the work that they did to quickly understand the root cause and come up with the corrective action and get us back in a posture to roll back out. We've also replaced the flight termination system batteries on the ICPS, on the core stage, and the boosters. And we are in the process now of testing the flight termination system in the VAB. So far, the VAB processing has gone very well. And, as Lori mentioned, we're targeting March 19th, the roll date. And should we meet that roll, which we have fairly high confidence we are, it'll be the fastest turnaround in the Artemis program since we started. 22 days from the time we roll off the pad to getting back out to the pad. During that time, we've also charged Orion's launch abort systems batteries. We performed another closeout crew demo in the VAB. And, the closeout crew and getting them trained and making sure we hit our timelines is very important for our launch countdown. And we got it done in a little under about 2 hours and 40 minutes. And so we're meeting our closeout crew timeline, and that was very good training. We also replaced the liquid oxygen seals on the tail service mast umbilicals. And so we thought while we had the time, given the experience we had with the LH2, the hydrogen seals, would be a good idea to change those. So we did that, and that's all completed. And now we've committed to roll again on the 19th. We'll get the vehicle back out of the pad, go through the pad preps, set up our EES system, raise the engine service platform, raise the extensible columns, do all that work, and put us in a good launch posture. Now, I will tell you that over a year ago, we set out to launch no later than April of 2026. Amit challenged us to get the vehicle to the pad by February. We held schedule for an entire year. That's quite an accomplishment for all the programs that are supporting Artemis. However, we had the problem with the helium disconnect, and we listened to the hardware and said we're not ready, brought it back, fixed it, and we're going to get back out there for that launch attempt on April 1st. I will tell you that this processing flow has gone very well in terms of our timelines. And, we spent half the time in the multi-payload processing facility to service Orion as we did for the Artemis I flow. And we cut the time in the launch abort systems facility by a third. So we're learning. We're all very excited to implement the new vision for Artemis that our administrator has announced to increase our launch cadence. And I think Artemis II is putting on us a good path. So it's good to be here. And with that, I'll turn it over to Norm.
All right. Well, thank you, Sean. And really thank you to everyone for your continued interest in this historic mission. The flight readiness review over these past 2 days was excellent and really heavily focused on crew risk and mission success. As you've heard, we remain on track for an April launch opportunity. Our teams in Mission Control Houston are fully prepared to support this mission. They've been training side by side with the astronauts, Reed, Victor, Christina, and Jeremy, through countless simulations and really working through every scenario. The team is ready to support both the astronauts and the spacecraft systems through the journey around the moon to when they're reunited with their families after splashdown. I talked with Reed this morning, and the crew is in excellent shape and ready to fly. They've complete confidence in the ground team supporting them. They have built strong relationships with our flight controllers and the integrated teams over the course of their training flow. For an April 1st launch, the crew will begin pre-launch quarantine at about L-14 days, which is March 18th, and will then travel here to the Kennedy Space Center at L-5 days, which is March 27th. This is an exciting time for our entire flight operations team to fly humans around the moon for the first time in over 50 years, send them further than any humans since Apollo 13, and continue paving the road of human exploration to the moon and beyond. As always, our astronauts and their safety remain our top priority.